Okay, so I wasn't originally planning on, I'm going to talk about my trip to Africa. I wasn't originally planning on it, but a bunch of people kept asking me, when are you going to give your testimony? So I said, okay, I'll do my testimony. So first, I'll just say a quick prayer. God, thank you so much for just letting me have the opportunity to go to South Africa, and then for getting this opportunity now to talk about it. And I pray that you would just bless this testimonial, just as I talk about the good and the bad and everything about my trip. I pray that you would help people to hopefully somehow, maybe, just possibly learn something from it that they can apply to their life. And just, yeah, bless it. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. So, first of all, most of you probably know, but I was in South Africa for 4 months, and it wasn't a mission trip. It was mostly for school through Azusa Pacific. But there was a month where we did mission work, but mostly it was school. So I'm going to try to summarize it like I do with mission trips, I'm not, like, usually mission trips I show pictures and I blah, blah, blah. But I'm just going to give you, like, an overall picture, kind of what I did, not a literal picture. And just kind of talk about some of the things I learned. But first of all, so I'm gonna say the good and the bad and try to summarize it all together. But first of all, I'll just list off some of the amazing, crazy things I did, not to make you jealous, but just to kind of balance out what I'm going to say next, okay? So just a list of some of the really unforgettable, crazy things. Riding the slowest horse in existence through rain and hail for 4 hours in the country of Lesotho. Doing the highest bungee jump in the world at 708 feet. Getting soaked by the largest waterfall in the world, Victoria Falls. Riding an elephant. Being stuck in a stationary train for 6 hours until 1:30 in the morning. Jumping over the line that split Zimbabwe and Zambia. Crawling through tiny passages in a cave. Milking a cow in a Zulu homestead. Building a house out of mud, rocks, and sticks in an African township. Going to a rugby game with painted faces and more spirit than the locals. Living with an African family for a week. Hiking for miles and climbing waterfalls barefoot and getting more than 60 cuts on my body to try and find a mysterious hidden waterfall. Feeling the wind in my face in a safari car and seeing giraffes and elephants in the middle of the road. Running in the game reserve past zebras during the 5:30 a.m. sunrise. And more. It's just a list. So it was, I'm so blessed to have been able to go, just doing all those crazy things. But the balance. It was also, this is weird, my voice sounds like I'm gonna cry, but I'm not, it's just my voice. Okay. Okay, so there were 55 of us on the trip that all came from APU. And even though there were 55, and you would think that there was always people around, and yay, it was still, I only knew a couple people before the trip, and it was still really tough, and I felt alone and excluded a lot of the time. See, now I can do it again. Okay. And as a lot of you know, my laptop was stolen there too. There was this 3 weeks where just everything seemed to be going wrong. It was like the laptop, and then 3 times a week they took us in a bus all down to the mall, and we could pick up shampoo and notebooks and whatever we needed. And then one time they left me there, and I was abandoned in a different country without a phone. And it was all this stuff. And the worst part about that wasn't just oh man, they left me, but it was no one noticed kind of thing. So it was tough just with the it was tough just with the people and just having those feelings of being excluded, feeling alone even when there's 54 people around you. And I had a lot of realizations about realizing things I didn't like about myself or things I didn't like about other people, just all this bad stuff. But through bad experiences, as most of you know, you learn a lot. You learn a lot more through the bad than through the good. So first of all, before we left for the trip, everyone who had been before, in previous semesters, all said, this will be a huge learning experience. You'll come back changed, blah, 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 you'll learn so much. And I was oh, yeah, okay, cool. And And for a lot of people, it was really life-changing. I don't know if it was life-changing for me. I did learn a lot, but because a lot of people, this was their first time, or one of their first times out of the country, one of their first times doing like a mission sort of thing. So they learned a lot about poverty and about having joy regardless of the circumstances. And I'd seen that a lot. I'd been on a lot of places where I'd seen that. So I didn't learn about the normal stuff that people learned about, but I learned a lot about people and just about the people that I'm not normally around. It's like when you're stuffed with these 54 other people, they're not people that you normally hang out with. I mean, some of them are, but some of them aren't. They're all just different kinds of people, and you're forced to be together for 4 months. But through the bad, I learned a lot of good. So, because I felt alone, I learned how much I appreciate everything back home. I learned that I appreciate my family, that I appreciate my friends, that I appreciate my church. I missed you guys a lot. I started missing the little things. I missed cereal, I missed non-fat milk, I missed baking, and I missed less people being around all the time. And I was talking to a friend about this like the week before we came back home, and she was saying she had kind of the same feelings about me as me on the trip. And she was saying she's excited to go back home because she doesn't have to try anymore. She doesn't have to try to get people to like her because she knows she's going back to a place where everyone loves her. And I was like, me too. All right, and then I also learned, because of the whole laptop and the being left at the mall and stuff like that, I learned, it was kind of a bad lesson, but I learned about, like, I can't really trust people, I can't rely on people. And that was not a very good lesson, but through it I learned that I can always rely on God. And that was something that just stuck with me throughout the whole trip. Just a lot about trusting Him and bringing up everything in prayer. Like I said, I learned a lot about other people, just how they work, a lot of people that are very different than me, and I learned a lot about them, and about not judging and things like that. I also learned that instead of trying to get to know everyone in a group, I should just focus on trying to get to know a small group and getting to know them really well. And sadly, I only started doing that like the last month of the trip, and I wish I had done that the whole time, just like got to know a small group and been like, yes, I get along with you guys very well, I'm going to stick with you. And also because I learned what it feels like to be excluded, I learned to recognize that more in other people and be more of an includer to them. I learned, I went to like 6 or 7 different churches the whole time I was there, which was really cool because I got to I don't really get to see other churches. And through it I saw some things I liked, some things I didn't like, but 2 important things that stuck out to me. One was that our faith is something that should be challenged. If we get too comfortable in it, we don't, when we're too comfortable in it, we don't really think about it, we're never challenged about it, so we don't know any way to defend it or know exactly what we believe. And a lot of times when we hear a sermon that's maybe we don't really agree with it, we come back, they shouldn't have said that. No, that's not true. Half of the church doesn't agree with that. Well, sometimes that's good. If you come in and say something that everyone agrees with, what was the point of hearing it, So it was just an interesting thing. That came to my attention. And another thing is, I noticed that was really weird was, at almost all of the churches I went to, almost all the sermons I heard in 4 months were on the Old Testament. And I was like, what? I'm so, I don't know, it was just really weird. And I realized I don't really know much about the Old Testament. Most of what I hear is about the New. And so I was like, wow, they're both really important. God's the same as He was then and now, and why don't I read the Old Testament? Whatever. Yeah. And, just a few other things, little fun things I learned. I learned that I shouldn't live overseas. After about a month, I'm ready to go home. Didn't know that before because I'd never been somewhere for longer than a month. I got a new appreciation for beauty in nature. I'm not the type to look at something really pretty and go and just stare at it. I'm never like that. I take a picture and leave. But I just found this new appreciation for it, and really was able to call a place beautiful and really mean that. I learned that I love telling stories through writing, and if you read my blog, you'll know that. I loved it every time I got to like sit down and write about a story that had just happened. I had some really fun random things that I learned. I'll just share. I learned that warm milk and cereal is really good. I hadn't taken like an actual bath, not a shower bath, since I was like 7, and sometimes on the trip I was forced to take one because there were no showers, and I learned that they're really complicated. I learned that you can wear a shirt multiple times before washing it or Febrezing it, as long as it doesn't smell. And I learned that tea actually tastes okay when you load it up with lots of sugar. So, yeah, very educational trip. Alright, so just in summary, it was a tough trip. I did amazing things, and I learned hard lessons, but through it all, just so many unforgettable things. And like I said, I'm not sure if it was life-changing, but just the lessons that I learned, I want those to stick with me, and just never forget those amazing adventures I had. And so overall, I'm very glad I went, and I want to thank you guys for praying for me while I was gone. And if you read my blog, I want to thank you for that, because that means a lot. And thank you all for listening.